Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode. Today I am joined by Ryan Baronet, and he is Head of Strength at Psycle London and a personal trainer and all-round knowledgeable chap. Welcome to the show, Ryan.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So I have a couple of guys come on this podcast just to kind of balance things out a little bit. So why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
So thanks for the introduction, by the way. I'm a personal trainer from London. Initially, I actually was born and grew up in South Africa. Always heavy into sports, played at like quite a high level of football, moved to the UK as a kid, went into the football side of things, left school to play football and do my sports science. Did that, became a PT when I was about 19. Went away to the States to coach and play, and then came back. So since I was kind of 19, I've been involved as a trainer. That developed into London, working as a trainer, which developed into going out on my own into a studio space. Kind of organically led me into also teaching classes, which turned out to be a bit of a passion of mine as well. Which kind of organically has led to me now being head of strength at Psycle London. So it's just been a kind of process over the last, I'm 27 now, so process over the last kind of 9 years,
Yeah, I think that it just sounds so like you've achieved so much, even though it's like 8 or 9 years. It does take a long time to progress that far and to be involved with the brand and everything. What you're doing in London now is awesome. So what is it that you like about teaching classes?
How I kind of stemmed into it. There is something quite magic about where we are now. The lights, the experience, the people, the energy, the vibe. There is something quite. I love the one-to-one stuff. I've had some of my clients for 5 years, 4 years. I love that and getting to know them on a personal level. But the class, opening the door, the music's pumping, the atmosphere is phenomenal. I know that, it's actually interesting. A couple of people I know on social media have been hammering classes lately,
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's fascinating. Which we'll get into in a second. But for me, if I look at the industry as a whole from a bird's eye view, I think it's anything that gets people moving and more active safely. I'm all for, right?
Exactly.
There's often this tendency to get in a pigeonhole. Only bodybuilding, only CrossFit, only running, only whatever. And so I love being able to tap into all elements, from a class, one-to-one. We do boot camps,
I love that as well. Because for a long time, I was only doing like bodybuilding style training. I was prescribing all my clients bodybuilding style training. That's always how you get into the fitness industry, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
But now I love, as you said, like any form of getting moving. And the class is so much fun because you will feed off each other. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So who's been hating on classes then?
No, it's been interesting. So I think there's this, look, first and foremost, where I do kind of agree on certain things. So with my team and the training I run with my teams and with our classes, what we really will try and merge is the fact that personal training and the class have to merge, right?
Right.
So it's not just a case of walk in the door, roll your shoulders out, we're going into 100 burpees. Or, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's still the element of the ramp protocols, the warm-up procedures, the mobility, the activation. The workout has a purpose. It's functional. For every push, there's a pull. There's lower body. There's core. There's activation work. So, but then you merge that with merge that with the lights and the music and the vibe. It's great. But where I do kind of agree is, not to hate on anything in particular, but there are certain workouts in London, in general, in the world, where people think more is better.
Yes.
Come and you're going to do 1,000 this a day. And I don't agree with that. I would never say to people who do come to my classes, come to do a HIIT class every day of the week.
No, absolutely.
It doesn't make physiological sense. It's got to be paired with you know, strength work, activation work, core stability. You know, we offer yoga here as well. We offer spin. I believe in a full 360 approach on every element, you know.
100%. And I think now the high intensity thing and of like doing as many reps you can really fast because of the growth of CrossFit and everything, I think people are starting to see that as a marker of like if you've had a good workout, and forgetting that actually you can have a really good workout and do less reps. It's okay.
Well, absolutely. I mean, there's also a big difference between optimal and maximal, right?
Yeah.
You know, getting the most out of a workout. You don't have to throw up at the end of a workout for it to be effective. Do you know what I mean?
And you want to work out again, like either the next day or 2 days later.
And if you look at elite athletes, right? If you look at elite athletes in all forms, I mean, my dad is a professional boxer. Cool. And we always spoke about, you know, training and and as a professional boxer, you want to peak on fight night, right? Yeah. So during the training camp, to use as an example, you're training smartly, effectively, you know? So if you look at it like that, there's a time and a place during your week to go to your max, but there's a time to, some days you got to put the brakes on. Some days you got to follow the boring mobility and activation and stability work you might need to do.
Yeah.
It's learning when to push and when to hold back.
And I think as well, like now with obviously like you can get loads of workouts on YouTube and everyone's doing workouts on Instagram. I think it can be that the kind of effective workout can look a bit boring.
Absolutely.
And, like it frustrates me so much sometimes because you know the basics work. And but as a coach, I constantly find myself trying, obviously you want to vary workouts and make them fun for people and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, there are certain things that work more effectively. But then I think that's a good way that a class can come in. If you pair that with PTing, it gives that bit of variety, a bit of fun, a bit of push as well, like a bit of competition and camaraderie or something like that.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I think that when you look at, I think it's also being very confident in yourself as a coach, right? I look back at I mean, God, if I could go back in time, I'd probably refund some people. But you learn, right? When I was first on the gym floor at 19, you had this misconception, as I said earlier, that I need to hammer them, right? And if they don't work out, crawl out the gym, they're not going to come back. And whereas now I'm in a position where I can confidently say to a client, look, the next 8 to 12 weeks, I'll be honest with you, some of it's going to be quite boring. We have to do X, Y, and Z. Or when you take a new client on board, to be like, hey, just to let you know, the first 8 weeks are going to be quite boring.
Yeah.
You know, and being confident in that.
Yeah, because that's what they've come. It depends what they've come to you for. Because if they come to you to get a certain result, there is a pathway to that result, and
absolutely,
sometimes it is a bit like monotonous or boring, or like you feel like you've not even broken a sweat properly that workout. But it's all about balance.
But they also don't want to hear. Unfortunately, again, you touched upon it earlier. You know, social media has been a phenomenal platform, right? What it's also done is, opinion, people kind of live vicariously through themselves, if that makes sense. Like the image, whether it's the editing, the abs on the image, or you wanting to look a certain way. So people come into the gym with these goals and they go, I want to look like that. Yeah. They don't want to hear that the first 3 weeks you might just have to work on them doing a body weight box squat because their hip mobility is awful.
Yeah.
Right? Or they've seen the latest workout of this guy doing like 50 like snatches into like a backflip. And so they assume that that's where you need to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
And I think what we've got to realize is like to detach ourselves from that and realize that that guy doing 50 snatches into a backflip did not walk into the gym first day and do that. He did all the break stuff. He did the box squats for 3 weeks or whatever.
Agreed.
Yeah, and it's kind of like now, obviously, profiles on social media need to grab attention in some way. So, you know, me putting up a body weight squat is maybe a bit like boring in the world now. Maybe a couple of years ago that would have been okay. But I think
100%. We're also in an era where I'm sure I see you're active on social media, where you've got the James Smiths of the world, who, by the way, I love, I absolutely love some of his. Hey, how's it going? Sorry. I, I absolutely, I absolutely love some of his honesty in some of his honesty in certain things that he discusses, but he's also made, which is quite comical because he has done really well in getting attention because he actually is very knowledgeable. But how he's grabbed your attention is by outrageous quotes. And so what happened is people often, I've noticed other people are trying to replicate that because they assume that's the only way they're going to get attention. If you just put a video.
So for anyone that's listening, because we had someone called James Smith on this podcast, like
I actually listened to it,
but it's a different James Smith. So you can check out this guy. He's like, he denounces.
I've been on his Instagram actually.
Oh yeah, he's all this James Smith is all for like basically the right stuff, really, like calorie control is the winner, and don't buy into any of this like detox teas and all that. But the way he's captivated everyone's attention is by just being very straight talking and
absolutely. And I think, look, don't get me wrong. And by the way, I actually agree with a lot of the stuff he talks about. Right?
Yeah.
I'm totally for. I do agree. People over what you call it? They kind of they kind of mask it in like buy my latest. When really, again, he is right. Yeah. Calories in, calories out makes sense. However, and look, but then there's also something to be said. The truth of the matter is insulin does exist. Yeah. Insulin does exist. There are benefits to certain things such as intermittent fasting for certain people. Yeah. So I think where people make the misconception is it's also not as simple as calories in versus calories out and tracking your macronutrients. So I think there needs to be somewhere in the middle. I do love that it's quite straight talking, saying, look, if you're overweight, you eat too much, which is true.
Yeah. I think it's always the first port of call, right? So
absolutely,
the first port of call does not need to be like go keto, go on a detox tea. Or
definitely.
Sort your calorie balance out first.
100%.
But you need support through that because
totally.
You have no idea. But and then I think after that, then it's time to dig deeper. But it's so difficult because it's just the marketing thing. Like, how can you sell a product? Like, I find this really hard to sell my business and my coaching because I don't follow any particular approach. So like some of my clients do like intermittent fasting. Some people are higher carb. Some people are lower carb. Like I figure out what suits the person. So 100%. I don't have like some like sexy like drink my tea for 28 days and you'll get ripped abs or anything like that. So it's obviously much harder to sell. Yeah, but I can sleep at night.
But that's the thing. I mean, look, it is tough, right? Because plenty of people have bashed on him, so I'm not going to. But the body coach, for example, right? Yeah. Once again, I'm sure he's a really good dude, right? And anything that gets people moving and thinking about health and fitness, I'm all for. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But again, hiding the fact that, exactly. When there's the contradicting facts of like calories are old science versus no, actually calories in versus calories out makes sense. You look at some of the recipes. I mean, like the morning oats can be up to like 800-900 calories, right?
I did not know that. Oh my God.
Yeah. So you can look at that's if you add all the stuff so if you add all these variables and then Mrs. Smith or Mr. Smith, who, like we said, struggle to do a squat. And in the first week, they're doing high intensity training. Then they're going to GVT. Yeah. That isn't.
I have not been following him recently. Is that what he's doing now?
Well, the 12-week, from what I've gathered, because I've had people come to me with the program after, and again, this isn't bashing on him, the 12-week thing, so it's shift, shape, sustain. Right. So the idea is you shift the weight with high intensity, like hill sprints, intervals, etc., with a carb backloading approach, I believe. Then the shape is, the
sculpting,
in essence, the GVT side of things. Wow. Then the sustain would probably go to the hypertrophy side of things, So
I'm surprised he's getting beginners to do German volume training. Interesting. But I guess after 12 weeks, they're not so much beginners. But yeah, and I think he's got the right approach there, because people are getting results straight away in that shift phase.
They are, but it's still they're still, but the point, you're right. But also the thing is, they're still not educated at the end of it, in a way.
Yeah.
And that's actually probably not the correct approach for everybody to train. Yeah. And then, as you said, someone like yourself who really takes care to look at each individual person, it's harder for you because you're not saying, because you get some people who be like, their Instagram handles like Keto Fred or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Or like intermittent fasting guru. And you're like, well, they just sell this one-dimensional approach.
Yeah.
So to an extent, people go, they believe in this, right? Whereas you are like, no, which is the approach I take.
Yeah.
Some of my clients fast, some don't.
Yeah.
Some do intermittent fasting, some don't. Some do carb backloading, some don't. It's a very individual basis.
And I think that probably most personal trainers out there, if they're anything decent, probably work the way we work, but they're not the ones who are huge on social media and stuff like that, because they don't have this like specific message. And I do think that is because people need, I reckon when you're looking to lose weight or looking to change shape of your body, you do want something that's like, oh, they're going to do exactly that and it's going to get me exactly that result. Which is it actually true though, And are you still going to be able to do that like 16 weeks down the line when you haven't had a carbohydrate for 6 weeks? Are you going to be happy or not?
Well, I mean, I think one of the keys is I was actually randomly having this conversation with one of my clients last week. So she's been with me 5 years in April, like 2-3 sessions a week. So we started off with rehab for an ankle injury. She's now blessed to gone on to do like a rollerblading marathon, a cycle from Paris to Windsor. She's just like an outdoor. She got into rollerblading at 49. She's brilliant. And so we are so past every month checking her body fat. We are so past that. She doesn't really give a shit.
No, basically.
Right. And so as her coach and her trainer, I am not forcing her to. She doesn't give a shit. She performs, she's healthy, she enjoys it. But the key in all of it, we were talking about what the next 5 years possibly looks like, right? Because she might be moving back to Australia. And one of the keys we were talking about was the fact that, which she was like, she now feels confident. And if I was to part ways with her, she knows how to live a healthier life, to eat, to have a glass of wine at the weekend.
Yeah.
How she wants to lose weight because she's got a wedding in 6 weeks, she can drop a little bit of fat.
Yeah.
How she can rollerblade, how she can feel happy and healthy and not feel overwhelmed at tracking her macros.
And that's what it's all about. It's like so refreshing to hear that, because that's what it's all about. Because then you can leave her as a coach and be like, like job done kind of thing. Like you've actually imparted wisdom on this person and they actually have learned. They're not going to have to go back to Australia and get another coach, because otherwise I'm not going to do 100 burpees without a coach. And also just like having that balance and that little cycle of like, okay, so you're not going to be necessarily at your leanest forever, but you know how to pull back and how to relax a bit and how to pull back. And I think that's actual balance.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
like rather than having like everyday balanced, I think just knowing when and knowing what to do to just make those tiny tweaks if you need to. Yeah, and I think it's good for you as well to just like have that natural cycle in your body. It's like, even if you take it with the seasons, like in winter you just kind of relax a bit and then you start to come back a little bit and then you relax a bit. I think it's good for your body.
But it's also digging deeper into yourself as the coach and the client. You have to. I had, again, another client who's been with me for a while. I trained her for her wedding last year. We'd been training for 2.5, 3 years. Oh, sorry, lost you there for a sec. We had been training for a few years before that. We obviously went really intense, tracking everything for her wedding. Her wedding day, she got her body fat down. She felt phenomenal. We've got to January. That was summer last year. Got to January this year. She sat down with me. So, Ryan, I want to get lean again. I want to do it. And I said, Soph, do you actually?
Yeah.
I said, Soph, I'm not going to give you your goals, but I'm telling you this right now. You didn't enjoy that process to your wedding.
Yeah.
You couldn't wait for the McDonald's after your wedding. You look great. You're healthy. You're strong. Let's set something else. Let's work towards something else.
Yeah. And keep
And
that like normal lifestyle with health and fitness incorporated.
right, exactly. You know, and look, some trainers are probably listening, pulling their hair out, you know, going, that's not a business model, but you know, hey,
it's true though, and that's what you have to fight against, because, well, the thing is, you know how to get people results, I know how to get people results, but the end result I want to get people is so that they are happy with their body when they're not having to slog their guts out at the gym, get on really low calories. Like, what about if you can actually just be happy with your body and enjoy your fitness all year round? Like, that just be so much better. And like, and I like the idea of having a goal that's not necessarily focused on weight loss. So you're saying,
100%.
Look for another goal. Like, is there some kind of race you want to do, or something else that you can focus towards?
100%. I mean, I get it, right? I mean, I get it. It is a parameter, but you got to look. Eventually, you look past that, right? Like, eventually, like whether it's, I mean, some of my fitness tests of my clients involve just 1,000-meter row.
Yeah.
We tested again in 6 weeks. Did you improve?
Yeah.
Great. Well done.
Yeah, and that's such a sense of achievement.
It's so simple.
Yeah, I think so. And the thing is, when you do have other goals as well, you end up, you know, if you've got weight to lose, you end up losing the weight anyway. It's, to be honest, because you've taken the focus off it, you put the focus on something else, your body loosens up, you enjoy yourself, so you want to go more, and you end up losing weight anyway. So I think it's quite a way, actually.
No, 100%.
Get really obsessed with the scale, it's just not good for you.
Yeah.
So you started off as a footballer. Like, how did that set you up with your training and like with your knowledge and everything? How did that set you up for your career?
I think from a very early age, I was quite lucky actually, because like I said, my dad was a boxer. My dad owned a boxing gym as a child, and so from the minute I could walk, I was surrounded by a gym environment, the discipline. My dad would be in the gym, his fighters would be running. He'd be coaching them. I was around a world of, even as a young kid playing football, I was around the world of, you want to make the first team, the A team, you got to work hard. You want to become captain, you need to work hard. You got to be disciplined. You want to make the district team, the county, It was all these things I didn't realize laid the foundation for, like, to achieve a goal of making a team, you got to work hard. You've got to have a goal. And that kind of carried on into and being able to work with a team. Sometimes you don't get on with everyone in your team, but you still got to work together. And I think those foundations, and then naturally, as my training as I got older and your training becomes more sports specific, you started to learn. It probably has had an influence on my overall coaching. In regards to the functional stuff, in regards to making sure that there's a purpose behind everything. You know what I mean?
And you're doing everything to help you in that particular sport for the goal.
Exactly. And also it made me also realize that training one-dimensionally also isn't good.
Interesting.
Just training to be a footballer. At the time, I look back and I'm like, man, I wish I knew about glute activation and mobility and yoga, and I wouldn't have got so many. I mean, I had terrible ankle injuries, so it taught me a lot of both elements.
And I think that's nice. Like, people, I don't know if the industry's changing, you'll know more than me, but you see like rugby players doing dance and strength coaches going into like maybe football clubs or rugby clubs or whatever, and starting to delve a bit deeper and cross training. Like, I think it's really cool.
100%. I mean, this is taking it way back. But my dad used to get his fighters to do aerobics and play squash.
Oh yeah, to be agile.
To be agile, quick, mobile, rhythm, on the beat. And it sounded so mad in the 80s and the early 90s, but that's what he did. It's it's kind of like that thing in Rocky, you've got to catch the chicken. Kind of,
but you can get kind of like one-dimensional when you're just training in one way all the time.
Well, I mean, if you look now, I mean, I watched England in the World Cup, you know, and you see before a game, they're using foam rolling, the SMR, they're using resistance bands for glute activation, you know.
Great. Yeah.
When I was playing, it was like high knees, some jumping jacks, some sprints. Let's play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's a lot of prehab as well. And that's another thing people forget about, just like
100%.
actually having to look after your body before you go slam it around a bit.
Yeah. Well, it's boring, right? Let's just be honest.
Yeah, it is.
It's boring. Even with clients, you know, after 10 minutes of foam rolling and mobility, they're like, can we just get started?
Actually, like as a dancer, I used to, towards the end of my career as well, so naughty. I used to skip my warm up a lot.
Yeah.
Get bored of it, like every day going through the same thing. Like, so hands up.
Yeah. I've been there. Trust me, torn hamstrings, ankles gone. Like I've been there.
I don't recommend it, but no one's perfect.
Yeah.
So you said in your intro there that you're head of strength at Psycle London.
Yeah.
So tell us, like, I thought that Psycle was a spin studio, but it's not, right? What is it?
It was
A spin studio. Okay.
Yeah. So to give you a short kind of, to an extent, background, the founders were in New York 5-6 years ago. If I'm getting this wrong, sorry, Cycle. And obviously New York's a little bit ahead. You've got Soul Cycle. You've got all these, you know, it's probably 4 or 5 years ahead of London. They came back, realized there was a gap in the market. So they launched, hence the name was Cycle, but it's also to do with the psychological elements that when you walk into a room. So it's not necessarily only to do with the ride. It's the fact that we don't, you know, we have no screens in our rooms. There's no, like on the bikes, there's no screens and data. It's all, forget the outside world. Cool. And so they just launched, 4 or 5 years ago. That took off massively. And what started to happen was more and more as they were getting popular, you know, they were having like thousands of riders per week.
Wow.
But they were the reality is, again, one dimensional, right?
Yeah.
So you sit at a desk, then you sit on a bike, you're very internally rotated, tight hip flexors. So people were then getting injured, or when they were going to other places to do strength, other places to do yoga. And then we had a big community. So we had a lot of females and kind of young moms as well who do like bar. And we had realized internally, we had trainers, I wasn't on board at this point. And then they started to realize that, wait, we've already got a community of people who do all that stuff.
Yeah.
So let's now build off that foundation and expand into other concepts.
It's so smart. Yeah.
And so that was when it kind of, they'd started to build it before I came on board, because backstory is my girlfriend's been working there for a long time. It's how I met her. In a class, and then when they started to launch the strength stuff, is when we met. They asked me to come on board, blah 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 blah. And so the actual strength concept has been going for about 18 months. But we launched a smaller studio in East London as a trial run while we were building this one in Central London. So this is on 6 floors.
Wow, nice.
And so we've had 18 months, quite a lot of investment. A lot of hurdles along the way. And so, we launched in December.
That's awesome. I think it's so cool that it's actually a more rounded boutique gym.
Yeah.
Once again, of course, it's easier to market something if it's this specific thing, but actually, as you said, it's just not what people need. Like the average person does not need to sit on a bike 5 times a week. Like it's just not going to do anyone any good. Or
even, you know, obviously also I'm here to also sell the classes, but we offer 5 different strength offerings, but I wouldn't advise someone doing all 5 per week.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
Go to 2, 3, go to a yoga, go to a ride, you know, see how you feel. Have a balance, you know. Active recovery, go for a walk. You know, like it doesn't have to be overcomplicated. But it's been a phenomenal experience from start to finish. I mean, I've taught, and you name it in London, I've been involved, taught there from one person in a class to no one showing up to power plate classes on a gym floor.
Yeah, you've got to pay your dues.
100%. Learn your trade, I guess, you know.
So you work with your girlfriend now. So is she involved in the strength side as well? What does she do?
No, so she's actually so she's one of the masters on the ride. She's been one of the ride, and she's been away now for 3 weeks. She's got 1 more week left. She's been in Sri Lanka becoming a yoga instructor. So she's back next week. So she'll be on board at Psycle teaching the yoga as well.
Oh, amazing.
So,
how are you doing without her?
Everyone keeps asking me that. Everyone's like, are you feeding? Are you eating? Because I've approached like every night. And to be honest, the first week was always strange. You know, I mean, I think I've seen in your stories that your husband goes away, right?
Yeah, I'm a mess the first week.
Yeah. It's all. I mean, for me, it was like Sundays, for example. I do her class. We go for a roast, or we cook dinner, so it's just the habits you're used to.
Yeah.
You know, we often see each other in the head office or in the studio. That was a little strange, but a couple of weeks, and also it's for a phenomenal. You know, since I've known her, she's wanted to expand, and so it's for a great purpose. You know.
Oh, it's amazing, Sri Lanka. Like, if you can go anywhere for a yoga course, like, why not?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, I think that when I worked with my husband as well. Like, we used to work together, live together, do everything together. And then when they're gone, it's like, like I just find myself talking to myself because I just I need to say stuff. I've got no one to talk to. And although the cooking goes downhill as well, because cooking for one is rubbish.
A little bit, or like she'd kill me if she saw the state of the flat, but it'll be sorted. Don't worry.
Yeah, see, I'm the opposite. Mine's more tidy now. They just don't tell
me. Oh, right. Yeah.
Awesome. So for anyone that's looking to get started, say people wanted to get started in some classes and in a new gym or something like that, what advice would you have for them?
Is in to go to a class?
Yeah,
I mean, look, I think I get people messaging me often, you know, they're like, oh, I'm really nervous, I want to come to your class, I'm really scared, or what's your best advice? Or, you know, do I advise, sorry, my phone keeps upgrading. Do I advise, you know, going from doing absolutely nothing to box jumps in a class? Definitely not. But number one, wherever you are, you know, get yourself a foundation of something, whether it's you do go for a run on your own, you go for a walk on your own, you start to build that, and do your research. You know, do your research, and look, some places you might not be as lucky to have something like what London offers. But even if it's a case of speaking to the instructor before, you know, if you really are nervous, you've never done anything. And look, a good coach or instructor should also be like, any first timers, I'll adjust X, Y, and Z for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So my advice would be
do something ridiculous on your first time.
Yeah. So my advice would be try and do your research. Try and get there early. Speak to the coach or the instructor. Often people will come and talk to me before a class. They'll message me before, or hey, I've got an inhaler over there. Hey, I'm recovering from X, Y, Z. It's a bit of a broad answer, I know, but it's quite there's a lot out there.
Yeah,
you know?
But I think you're right. I think so many people, especially women, feel nervous before starting a class or going to a new gym or something. You assume everyone's going to be super fit, and you know you're like, oh, I'm going to die at the back or whatever. But at the end of the day, I think it's just like everyone starts somewhere, and you're all there to have 100%. Fun, and you're
agreed.
To improve. Everyone's always there to improve, and
absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, so thanks so much, Ryan. This has been really fun.
No problem at all. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're jet-lagged.
Anytime.
Yeah. So if people want to follow you on social media, where can they find you?
So my Instagram is The Body Method. Just exactly as it is. The Body Method. Yeah, nice and simple. So yeah, if you're in London, give me a shout. Check us out.
Yeah, and the studio looks awesome. If anyone wants to check it out online, it looks really cool.
Yeah, no, it's great. It is great.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, thank you.